5 real stories of what happens when you don't save enough for retirement. These all come from Financial Advisor. 5 stories from them. And this is from Machen Wealth Management. Guys, listen to these so you don't end up living in a van down by the river. So leave me comments, guys. Have you known any people that this has happened to? Has it happened to you? Leave me some comments. So here's number 1 on a new version of Storytime with Uncle Duane. John was making $2,000 withdrawals each month from his $400,000 retirement nest egg while he was in his 50s. Yikes. Can you say yikes? He said his business would get better and it would help him make up for those withdrawals. Ultimately, his business failed and now he is working full-time in his late 60s. Again, yikes. What's the lesson there, guys? Don't rely on things you have no control over to happen. In his case, my business is going to start going gangbusters. No, he had $400,000 in his 50s. I think he'd be pretty good if he kept contributing and not taking $2,000 a month out of it, right? Now he's in his 60s and he's working full-time, late 60s. Don't do that, guys. Be smart. Be smart. Things that are out of your control, like his business is going to do better. How do you know? Maybe signs were looking up for him, but you don't ultimately know this. Don't rely on things you have no control over. Do the things you do have control over. Contribute. Don't take these crazy withdrawals out of your 401k, IRA. Hey, for those of you guys seeing me for the first time, my name is Duane, and this is a retirement channel for people on moderate income. If you think you might like that, think about subscribing and like the video. And if you'd like to support the channel further, down below, you can buy me a coffee or buy my new book for $3.99, The Monster Who Loves Me. Here's number 2 for you. And again, as always, in these story times, I'm looking up and down because I got a lot of information on this. A couple didn't save enough for their kids' weddings. 2 kids' weddings. They decided to put both of them on their credit card. Doesn't say how old they were. It looks like they were a little later in life, though. Now, they are tens of thousands of dollars in debt. In their 60s now, the parents who paid for these weddings are struggling just to get by. Never a good idea, right? Sorry, wind just popped up here. It was totally calm when I started. Hopefully you can hear me. Never a good idea to put stuff on credit cards if you can't pay it off at the end of the month, or maybe the end of 2 or 3 months if it's a huge purchase, right? As long as you have that plan. I'm going to pay this stuff off in no more than, let's say, 3 months, hopefully 1 month. But the big purchases I get. Putting their weddings on their credit cards and then never paying them off, now they're screwed. Never a good idea, right? I mean, you would think if you have kids, I don't have kids, never had kids, don't plan on having kids. Don't think I have any unwanted kids lying around anywhere. You think you'd plan for that, right? You think you'd plan for your children's wedding. Put 2 of them on credit cards. Again, yikes. Here's number 3 for you. This is a person whose aunt had not planned for retirement. Her husband died and she got his pension and also his bicycle shop. But because the bicycle shop, guess who was doing pretty well? Paid her too much. She took a reduced pension because of it. Because of the amount she was bringing in from the bicycle shop, they wouldn't give her the full pension. Or she would have had to sell the shop. So what did she do? She gave the shop to her son to manage. Doesn't say how old the son is. Her son ran the shop into the ground. Now, very sad, she has dementia and was forced to sell all of her assets. She now lives in an assisted care home on Medicaid. I kind of get this. If the wife, this person, his aunt, wasn't involved in the retirement savings plan, the retirement plan in general, probably didn't have too much experience in what it all means to save for retirement, you know? And then her husband dies. She was probably expecting the full pension, but with the bicycle shop, she couldn't get it. Have no idea, no information about the son, but just a sad story, right? Sad story. And now she's barely getting by, and she has dementia, and she's on Medicaid. Sad, very sad. Guys, what can we do about this? I've got 2 more stories to go, but what can we do? Just be smart. Be smart about your retirement savings. As most of you who are watching this video, you're going to probably be okay. Most people that are going to retire don't watch retirement videos. If you consume information like this, not saying I have the greatest information in the world, but I think I've been through a couple things that may help you in some areas. Consume all the information you can on YouTube, on the internet. If you want to go to a financial advisor, great, soak up that information. You just got to be prepared for the pratfalls, love that word, pratfalls of retirement and retirement planning. Can't go into this blind. Can't go into it and say, okay, I'm putting a certain amount away every month and that's it. Soak up that retirement information from people who are going through it, who've had experience. One good thing is, like, if you know someone who's in their 70s, let's say even 80s, and have been in retirement for like 20 years or so, rely on them. Rely on what's worked for them, what hasn't. You know, that can't help but help you in your journey. Number 4, this was a couple who worked hard but lived above their means. They neglected their financial health. When it came time to retirement, they had to sell their long-term home to avoid running out of money. Now they live in a tiny apartment. Okay, another bad story, right? But you know what, guys? These are not isolated stories. These happen all the time to good people. Doesn't mean they're bad people. They just didn't plan well. You know, I can't emphasize how important it is to start as early as possible. Number 1, on your financial journey, start saving as early as possible. But number 2, this doesn't have to be as early, but a good 10, 15, 20 years before your retirement, start soaking up all the information you can about retirement. It's not all financial, guys. There are a lot of things that just crop up in retirement you have no idea about unless you've been studying that information. Okay? Can't emphasize that enough. And number 5, and again, these are 5 stories from financial advisors of past clients they've had. Longtime clients decided out of the blue to retire at 65. It was a married couple. Even though their financial advisor's plan was for them to work until they were 68. Okay, before I talk about the rest of this stuff, you wouldn't think 3 years would make that big a difference. It can, especially later in life, depending on how much you have saved or not. So them to decide just out of the blue to retire 3 years before their advisor advised them to retire, that's a big deal. The financial advisor's projections showed them running out of money by the time they reached their mid-70s. The only way to survive was to sell their home and relocate to an area with a much lower cost of living. Okay, now this doesn't sound as bad as some of the others, right? Hey, if you have to relocate to an area of, lower cost of living, that's what I did here. I lived in LA for 30 years. I knew that on my moderate retirement, $500,000 in my case, I couldn't afford to live how I wanted to live in a retirement. So just like these guys, I relocated to a rural area up here in the high desert east of LA, a little over an hour. Can't tell you how thankful I am that I did that. Everything is lower here. Gas prices, food prices, especially this place that I bought. I mean, with the view I have here, I couldn't have touched this for probably 1.5 to 2 million in LA. Got it for about $250,000. So yes, this last story doesn't sound like a disaster. Maybe they're fine with it. I know I sure am. But guys, those are 5 stories for you. Just kind of, I don't know, to make sure you're prepared. That's why I like to give out this story time with Uncle Duane. It helps open your eyes to things that have happened to people so you can not have it happen to you, basically. All right? So guys, as always, from the lovely high desert, where today, what is this, January 10th? Little windy, but it's about 68. I love it. I love it. And as always, from the lovely high desert, we got this.